journal or their blog that they don't like those games for those reasons. Why can't Anita Sarkeesian?
What we're seeing is cultural criticism across various media has become more prone to bringing up points about feminism or other cultural phenomena like that. So you've seen it in film reviews and book reviews in the past 5-10 years, more so than you've ever seen it before. And now it's happening in video games too, and gamers just have to get used to that.
And the fact that it is happening means that gaming is becoming more mainstream. It actually seems like it could be kind of a good thing. I don't know for sure. I'm not necessarily a gamer myself. Georgina, go ahead.
Sorry, I was about to say that the whole cultural review sort of thing. I think that Gamergate isn't all anti-cultural review or anti-feminist review. I think a big point is that a lot of people want if you have a problem with the feminist point of view in the game, that then you should not let that affect the score, or not let it affect the score in the way it has been in the media at the moment, because that can affect the Metacritic score, and then that can affect the bonus the developer gets. So
but then you're talking about the difference between, if I might, you're talking about sort of, if you're incorporating those things into your overall review of the game as a cultural experience, then you've got to put that in your overall score of the game.
No,
reviews
definitely.
are more than just about the experience of playing the game.
Georgina, go ahead, Georgina. Let's.
I definitely agree with that, but for example, with Bayonetta 2, it generally got 9, 9.5, 10 even marks, and then one person gave it a 7.5, which is vastly south of those figures, because of the one problem they had with it, which was the sexualization of her. Personally, I find her a strong female character, and I love playing her, so I can't really talk about that. But at the same time, it just seemed a big dock for one aspect that they didn't like about it.
Right, but the issue here, though, that we're talking about, because it sounds very trivial right now, we're just talking about the number scores. Those scores affect what, Georgina? This has to do with what they're referring to as the collusion, correct? This is the collusion. Am I wrong?
Well, I think Gamergates have different views on this. Some people think, it was been proven that a lot of journalists and people within the gaming industry have email threads where they message each other and stuff, and that's not really a problem, obviously. But then it becomes a problem when you get people like the guy at Ars Technica was messaging the guy at The Escapist and saying oh, can you try not to write any more Gamergate articles and things like that, and you've got competitors trying to tell other websites and things what to write and what not to write, and that sort of then gets a bit murky in terms of ethics and things like that.
Georgina, I'm sorry to interrupt you, but I do want to bring up ethics, because I think one of the other complaints is also that in discussing ethics, or in trying to discuss the ethics that they're shooting for, we always end up talking about sexism. So I have a perfect comment right here that's not about sexism. It's from Jonas, who says, remember when Ubisoft gave press a free tablet at an event? Is that what they're talking about when they're talking about ethics? As a journalist here, if I can say that, as a journalist here, I have been invited to sets. I've been invited to go to movie sets and hang out with the director and be given swag, and I'm not allowed to accept it, because I'm not allowed to let it affect me under my job title as journalist. Is this the major grievance for what would mainly be considered Gamergate?
I would say it's a huge issue in it. I think it's sort of where do you close the line. Obviously a lot of reviewers get review copies. Now this isn't a problem, they've got the copy for free, and this isn't a problem if they disclose in it they got the copy for free. Now maybe they know the developer, or they're friends with someone who got involved with the game. Maybe they could still review it then, but their relationship with the developer, their relationship with the game would have to be fully disclosed in that article. And I think a lot of it is about transparency and making sure that all those relationships, if they're donating to the developer or any of the developer's projects, if they know the developer, if they're friends with the developer, any of this stuff, this has to be disclosed, and it has to be stated in the article so that when you read it, you can understand that maybe, they could have a bias there when you're reading it, rather than thinking, oh no, they're completely objective. So I think that's the main point here.
I want to pull up a tweet right now, just a little thread that's happening as we're having this conversation. And it's also one of my problems with the discussions that I have, or what I've seen in my Twitter feed. And again, Twitter feed is random people that can just use a hashtag, but this has been a regular person. We're not getting a fair shake. We are being slandered. Ricky Cam is leading them along the path. I knew he would. His attempted railroading last time sealed that expectation in my mind. It's clear Ricky's clan still has no clue what Gamergate is about and still acts like he has no clue. Now, from what I've read on the internet, from what I've seen on MSNBC, Jesse, we are essentially, whether you support or I support or Alex supports or Georgina supports, this is probably the most open-minded conversation about Gamergate that I've seen in trying to find out what it's about, how they can make themselves more mainstream, how they can make themselves something that is taken seriously, and we're not even calling anyone sexist or misogynists yet.
No.
But they're mad. But Jesse, but they're already mad. They say that I'm railroading them. That's a huge problem for them, right?
They've already decided that we're the enemy, that anyone in the so-called mainstream media is evil. But to me, what this all comes back to is like, that stuff about Ubisoft, about free swag, that's exactly what Gamergate should be investigating. If you guys want to investigate Ubisoft and who's getting what and free copies, that's fine. You guys aren't. You're obsessed with Zoe Quinn and Anita Sarkeesian, who have nothing to do with this kind of corruption. They were previously not very well-known figures. Feminist commentator, feminist game maker. Gamergate is obsessed with these two people, and they are not the problem here. Like I said, this is a target-rich environment. I'm on board if you guys want to say that big outlets are sort of granting favorable coverage to big, crappy games. I agree with that, but that's not what most people arguing under the Gamergate hashtag are arguing.
Alex, would you agree with that?
Yeah, I agree fully. I think the conversation that we were having a few minutes ago about sort of ethics in journalism and gaming and tech and, journalism in general is a conversation that's very much worth having. The problem is, this is the first conversation like that I've really had since Gamergate got underway. It's Friday, and only a few days ago, a woman had to cancel a speech at a school because she was afraid for her life because of events related to Gamergate. That's ridiculous and insane. If we want to have that educated discussion about ethics in journalism, let's do that. But first, let's stop harassing women.
Georgina?
Sorry, Alex.
Georgina, I'm going to give you. Georgina, I'm going to give you the last word. Is probably the most neutral party in this conversation right now.
I didn't hear whether Alex said that she received the threats because of Gamergate. I didn't hear what he said exactly about that. Can you repeat that?
Can you clarify quickly, Alex?
Yeah, I mean, from what I can understand, she received threats because of her opinion about gaming, which to me is related to Gamergate.
I think maybe it would be it's all assumptions at this point, I would say, and that maybe you could say because it's her opinion about gaming, but I would say as well, without evidence, it's not really fair to link that to Gamergate, and it goes both ways, when Boogie or whatever got doxed and harassed. I think, again, you can't say that's anti-Gamergate. I think it goes both ways. You can't blame anyone unless you have the evidence that it is someone. I'm not saying that someone has to give evidence that they were harassed, but I think before you blame a specific person or group for that harassment, I think you have to have evidence that that person did it.
And Georgina, do you think, do you agree with Jesse and Alex and me, kinda, that Ubisoft, going after Ubisoft is the right way to go, and that the movement, if it is a movement and not just different people using the hashtag, should stop focusing, zeroing in on the stories of Zoe Quinn, Anita Sarkeesian, and Brianna Wu?
I think a lot of what Gamergate is doing now is a lot of boycotts and things. So, for example, they I'm not sure whether this is confirmed yet, but they recently got Mercedes-Benz made to pull out of advertising for Gawker. So they're trying to, at the moment, attack huge media outlets like Gawker Media, who have been in this collusion where they're talking to other journalists and maybe having friendships and things that aren't totally clear in the media. I mean, I don't know these people. I don't know them personally, so I can't say whether the relationships were too close or not, but that's the way it would seem, and I think that's what Gamergate is trying to do now, is attack these bigger media outlets that have been sort of proven to have these collusions and these close ties that they didn't disclose.
Alex, Georgina, Jesse. Georgina, thank you for coming back. Alex and Jesse, thanks for coming on and talking to me about this, and hashtag Gamergaters out there, the rational, the reasonable ones, thanks for chiming in on Twitter and in the comment feed as well. It's always good to hear your opinions when they are reasonable. Thanks, guys. Stick around. We got a lot more coming up here at HuffPost Live.